Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Adult Ec Podcast. Man, I'm excited for today. And as always, I'm your host, Sean T. Listen, whenever you get here, you are right on time and exactly where you're supposed to be. So, again, guys, I am excited for today because, a few weeks back, we kicked everything off with the pilot episode. We brought awareness to the psychological pressure that this adulthood life puts on us, right? We followed that back up with episode 1, where we talked about nobody really guiding us through or walking us through this journey of our life. And now we're here, episode 2, and if I'm being honest, about 2 years ago, before this whole adult ed podcast idea even came about, I was in a season of my life where I truly felt like I was late. And I don't mean late like, hey boss, I'm gonna be late for work or late to an event or anything like that. I was late to life. I truly felt like I was late to life. Just year after year after year after year, I'm constantly thinking to myself, like, it doesn't feel right. Is this where I'm even supposed to be in life? Like, somehow everyone else started and I never received the announcement. And if any of what I'm saying is hitting you even just a little bit, this episode is for you. Hey everyone, again, real quick, I just want to thank y'all for tuning back in. Listen, last week we talked about how adulthood didn't get hard because we were lazy. No, no. Today's episode is about time and the timelines we use to construct our life with, and how most of us are measuring ourselves against a clock we didn't consciously choose. All right, so get your snacks ready, get a big enough drink to last you during the whole episode. Pull up a chair, because it's about time to discuss. Listen, as we walk this earth and the years go by, there is this invisible clock that we don't ever talk about. I'm trying to figure out, is this the clock that we call Father Time? This timeline that marks out our life, our personal life at that, and tells us when we're supposed to reach each of these milestones in our life. Graduate by this age, have a career by this age. You need to be married by this age, having kids by this age, buying a house by this age. And if you don't hit those markers, we start to question ourselves. But here's what I had to sit with. Who created this clock? This got to be a Jacob Margella or something like that. I don't even know if I'm saying that name right. But I can remember a time in life where we were younger and all we thought was you graduate high school and you have one of 3 choices, okay? Foist. Nah, I'm just kidding. I always wanted to say it like that on camera, though. I see it in the movies, foist. All right, back to focus. All right, so first, you could have went off to college. You did everything you were supposed to do, what the teachers told you to do. You turned in all your paperwork. You did everything on time. You had family that helped sponsor you. You had schools that helped sponsor you depending on what you did with your high school, middle school, elementary school years. You know, and I'll be the first to tell you now that option is a tremendous experience, okay? But there's still more options. Second, you have one of two in the second option. So if you didn't go to college, your next option was joining the military. I did that myself, fighting for your country, being proud of something, something automatic to be proud of. But if you don't go there, then your next route was get a trade. You might go up to a trade school, become a plumber, become an electrician, you know, something that's standard that you can guarantee work ahead of time. And then you got your last of the bottom three, which is most definitely your least favorable option, okay? If you didn't do those first two, the thought was, man, what am I supposed to do with my life? I'm going to become a degenerate, a low life, a bum, or whatever the cool kids call it today. I don't know. The swerve guy. I don't know. But somewhere along that way, those expectations turned into pressure, right? Now, here's that uncomfortable truth. I wasn't late. You are not late. I was comparing. And when you're comparing, all you're doing is slowly bringing quiet violence onto yourself. Because you're comparing your internal confusion to someone else's public certainty. You don't get to see their doubt. You don't see their second thoughts, the depth. You don't see the anxiety that they go through. All we see are the milestones. And you know what milestones are, right? Milestones look like confidence. That's it. It doesn't show you the stressful times that they went through. There was a time where, man, I had a great job working at a club, crazy club, man. But it was a good experience for me. And as I look through Facebook, Instagram, I see my peers, they're hitting that next milestone in life. They're already all married. They all started having kids. What's next? Now comes the house, right? So my thought was, man, I'm at this age. I need to get a house. I need a house. Did I need a house? I didn't need a house. But my head told me I needed a house, right? So I walked through that experience again alone, where I started looking into homes and on Facebook Marketplace, just trying to get into whatever. It's that time. I'm getting money hand over fist. It's that time now. And I set myself up for failure, right? Nothing in my life was aligned to buy a house. My relationship was rocky. I'm working 24 hours out of the day. Not really 24, but roughly about 16 hours out of the day. There was nothing in my life really telling me this is what I needed. It's just my personal feelings, that comparison that was telling me this. But I still went to get a house. Okay. Now, what's dangerous about this is to know that on time is not necessarily aligned. They are not the same thing, guys. They're not. All right, guys. So everything we're unpacking right now, it's not about being lazy. It's about comparison warping your perception of time. That feeling of being late, it's just sometimes distorted by perspective. Now, listen, late only exists if there's one script, but look around. There's too many of us for one script. There's too many different ways of life for one script. Some people burn early and burn out. Some build late and sustain. Some pivot at 40 while some restart at 50. We only call it late because we're watching someone else's pace. Or like my mother would say, we're watching someone else's plate. Now tell me this, quick story. Have you ever woken up in the morning before breakfast, before you get up, haven't even brushed your teeth yet? You hop on that cell phone and you start scrolling. And in 6 minutes, you've seen someone buy a house, get engaged. Someone made 6 figures. Someone's on a yacht at the Bahamas. And someone just retired their mom. And you're just in bed. You got one eye open. You got one eye open. And now your nervous system starts panicking. Your nervous system starts thinking, you're behind. And that's crazy when you think about it. You just consumed 10 highlight reels from 10 different timelines, and your feet haven't even hit the ground yet. Of course you feel late. Of course you feel behind. Social media compresses perception. It blends together a 29-year-old founder, a 38-year-old entrepreneur, 29-year-old newlywed, and a 41-year-old fitness coach. But you look at the timeline and your brain goes, yep, same age, same group. I'm losing. I'm behind. Now 25 feels old. 25. We got people saying, I'm 25. Oh man, what am I gonna do? I feel so behind. And I'm thinking to myself, like, behind who? Dude, you were just like in middle school like 12 minutes ago. Are you serious? We're comparing our chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 14. We haven't even seen what their chapter 3 through 13 looks like. We haven't seen what their 3 through 13 cost them. Mm-hmm. And look, scrolling doesn't just show wins. It stacks wins. It stacks wins on top of you, on top of your brain, on top of your thoughts. And now your quiet Tuesday morning starts feeling like failure. And not because you're late, but because you watched a highlight marathon and haven't even had your coffee yet. That is not reality. That is compression. And if Instagram is your life coach before 9 a.m., we need to talk. Seriously. But listen, guys, social media did not create comparison, it literally just accelerated it. Listen, and just to slow this down, we're not anti success, we're not anti ambition. We're questioning why we feel expired at an age where we're still learning. Now, let's go a little deeper, okay? Because this isn't about time. All of this, all of it is about validation. It's about not wanting family whispers, not wanting to feel unstable, not wanting your friends to pass you by. Now, understand, most of us aren't afraid of being late. That's not it at all. We're afraid of being perceived as failures. We're afraid of what all the other people are going to say about us, right? Because truthfully, that is heavier. You know, I have a friend, middle school friend, man. This is my boy here, okay? Shout out Mont. All right. This is my boy right here. He came all the way from Baltimore to Little Oak, Killeen, Texas. Shout out to the K Town. But he came all the way from Baltimore to Little Oak, Killeen. And all I remember about the guy was he had a weird shaped head, horrible hairline. But that was back then. You know, he's a different animal today, right? But what I do remember is he was amazing at basketball. Okay. He came down and despite everything that he went through, he kept his eye on the prize. His parents kept him grounded. They kept him close to them. And when we graduated high school, I didn't really hear too much about him. I knew he was doing this painting company with his dad, and he blew up from there. From that point on, he blew up. I was off in other states. I did my college, I did my military thing. I started running business, but I kept watching my friend, man, and he stayed so grounded. It seemed like he knew exactly where he was supposed to be. He knew exactly what lane he was supposed to be in. And he ran with it. He got a building. Years went by. I'm like, what is he doing with this building? He put this building together to open up a nice bar here in Killeen, and it's a city vibe in this bar. It's a city vibe in this town, right? He did exactly what he was supposed to do. Hopefully, he'll come in here and bless us with his presence, give us some good input on what kept him straight in life, right? But watching my boy move the way he did as an adult, you know, it always made me feel like something small inside. And I had a lot of big stuff going on for me. But for some reason, my life kept restarting. And every time my life restarted, I would look at my friend and I'd be like, no, I can't fall too far. not too far behind. I was comparing. There was always that little voice inside of me. And realistically, that little voice is just pressure. Yo, quick shout out to my boy Mont with the number one bar in Colleen with a real grown and sexy atmosphere. Section 1111, down the street on Tremere, across from the Lion's Den or the Boys and Girls Club, whichever one you want to call it. Again, that's section 1111, where you can always guarantee good music, beautiful ladies, and drink prices that will have your pockets thanking you in the morning, okay? So go ahead, check out section 1111, and hopefully you're lucky enough to get you a section. Now listen, what if this isn't delay? What if all of this was just development for you? What if you're not behind? You're building foundation, right? Self-awareness, discernment. That's a big one right there. Discernment, stability, healing. You know, we're just building that foundation for ourselves. That's it. Now, those don't show up in an announcement post, but those do matter, especially for long term. Now, let's talk about something we don't talk enough about, and that is the difference between fast arrival and aligned arrival. Okay? Aligned arrival is equal to ready arrival. That's what that means. So let's say fast arrival versus ready arrival. Because they both do look the same on the outside. They both say I made it. They both post the announcement. They both hit the milestones. But internally, completely different. Fast arrival is more driven by pressure. I can't be the only one not there yet. I'm tired of feeling behind. Let me just get to the destination. That's fast arrival for you. But ready arrival is different. It's quieter. It's less impressive at first. Yeah, definitely less impressive. But it is so grounded. And if I'm being honest, I've always felt that pull to arrive fast. To skip steps, to compress the process, to force the outcome. We are not responsible for the outcome. We can only do our part. And this feeling didn't come because I was prepared. No, it came because I was uncomfortable watching other people move forward. And that's the part that frustrates me the most. We've normalized speed so much that patience begins to look like failure. We've glamorized early so much that steady looks weak, but arriving fast and arriving ready, they're not the same thing. Fast arrivals gets applauses. Ready arrival gets sustainability. So what do you want? Do you want the applause or do you want to be stable? You know, fast arrival says, I'm here. While ready arrival says, I can stay. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to arrive somewhere and realize I don't have the capacity to stay. I don't have the capacity to maintain it. We do it all the time. Honestly, a relationship we rushed into, a lifestyle you can't afford, a business you're not equipped to truthfully run. Now you have a title you're not emotionally stable enough to carry. That's not success. That's not success. That's just pressure with better lighting. I'd rather arrive ready, even if it takes longer, even if it's quieter, even if no one claps for me. Because the staying power is more important than the speed. And that's what we're talking about when we say you're not late. Maybe you're not slow. Maybe you're just preparing to stay. All right, guys, I got to wrap this up now. And before you leave today, before you leave this episode, just remember that you are not late. Okay? And I want you to try something for me today or whenever you get the chance. It doesn't have to be right this second, but come back to it. I want you to try something simple, not dramatic, not life changing overnight or anything like that. Just honest. And make sure you're always honest with yourself. Tonight or sometime this week, I want you to write down 3 things that you feel like you're behind on. And don't filter it. Let's keep it simple. Career, money, marriage, fitness. What did you have for your New Year resolution? Whatever it is. Now, next to each one of those, I want you to ask yourself this and write it down. Who told me that I was behind? Was it my family, social media, friends, or the culture? Or maybe I told myself I was behind. Because a lot of this pressure that we feel is really inherited. And truthfully, inherited timelines always don't fit. Now, here's the second part, okay? Pick just one of those things, just one. And instead of asking how to catch up, you need to ask yourself, what does moving at my pace actually look like? Not rushed, not panicked, not forced. My plate, my pace. Okay? Now, that question alone will calm a lot of your noise. Okay? And if you even felt a little bit of this episode, please, please, please do me a small favor. Share it with someone who's been feeling behind. Or drop a comment, a like. If you don't know what to put down for the comment, write one word, becoming. So other people who feel late realize they're not alone in this fight. And if this conversation helps you think clearer, please follow and subscribe, guys. Yes, please follow the show, not just for the numbers. So we can keep building this space where growth is not rushed, it's intentional because you're not late. Remember that. Remember that you are not late. You're just running your pace. And if I'm being honest with you, that's power. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I pray that it took a little psychological pressure off of you. This episode wasn't about fixing your timeline. No, it was about questioning what makes us feel rushed in the first place. So, again, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and please share and subscribe. See you all next time, and please help us keep this fire lit. Appreciate it.